My name's Erin Hughes and we're here at Aberystwyth Art Centre in Gallery 2 where we're installing my exhibition Flawed. This body of work is a way of me kind of introducing my process-based practice to the public here. I'm an artist that makes hundreds and thousands of hand marble papers and I cut them up to make collages, emulating sort of inlaid marble techniques. And so for this project, it started off with a research trip to a church in Wedi'i called St Margaret's Church. And in that church, it holds 14 varieties of real marble from all over Europe. The exhibition here actually documents that journey from my studio in Eglwys all the way to St Margaret's Church in Wedi'i and then back. So the first stage is drawing the design out on tracing paper, and then I go and use that as a template for cutting out each of the sections from the different marble papers. Sometimes I've already got the marble paper that I need to use. Occasionally I might need to make a marble paper specifically for a part of a collage. And then once I've sort of cut them all out, I might swap them over. I might sort of think actually that section needs to be a slightly warmer green or that needs to be a kind of colder blue. So I don't stick everything down until I'm really happy with it, and there's a few different swaps maybe of different sections as the collage goes along. They've typically got about maybe 30 to 40 individual cut out pieces. So I make hundreds and hundreds of different marble papers. I use different coloured papers as base underneath, and often I'm really trying to go for texture or pace of the marble paper. And it's funny because I'll make so many different marble papers and I'll think, oh, I'm never going to use that. But then there'll be a collage at some point where that will be the exact marble paper that I need. And I never throw any marble papers away, hence my studio being like this, because they're all useful at some point. So I use oil paints with my marbling. There's loads of different ways of doing paper marbling. And I was taught by David Wade, and he taught me how he does it, which is using oil paint thinned down into a sort of ink-like consistency, and then dripping the oil paints on the surface of your marbling size, it's called. Sometimes you can leave the marble tray overnight and you get some really cool kind of crystallizing effects. And sometimes you do it really fast. So it's it's a really sort of pleasurable process, and it's one that I really like to share. So I do a lot of paper marbling workshops as well with the public, which I'll be doing as part of this exhibition too. I've also been creating my own screen printed backdrops to create these kind of simple diffused skies. I've been really struck by moving to Mid Wales. Obviously the landscape is just incredible. It really hit me like a ton of bricks. My dad's Welsh speaking, his side of the family lived on the same farm for over 4 centuries. And I used to come up to Anglesey every summer or twice a year. So I do feel a kind of personal connection with Wales and the sort of wild landscape. So I really like repetition. I find repetition quite funny. I think sort of when something's repeated, the strangeness of that thing becomes more apparent, and I quite like that. You can start looking for differences between the two, and maybe then sort of on closer inspection realise that, with the marble papers or the way that I use marbling, I never really get the exact same marbling, more than once. So it's quite nice that they are slightly different. It might look like a painting or a print, but it's actually quite important to me that these are made, sort of crafted, with a kind of process and a labour of love. So yeah, each of the larger collages were really, really fun to make because each of them kind of are trying out new sort of, like pushing the kind of technique a little bit further. For instance, this one, this section of the marble paper I actually marbled twice. So you'll see that there's like actually 2 layers of sort of detail on like this particular section. I actually painted the road and then screen printed the sky. This one was fun as well. I've got a lot of detail here on the wall, which again is like a bit of a push on from like how the technique has developed. So all of these black lines, for instance, in the technique, are always created by the gap between the different cut out sections of marble. And then I sort of played with that black line a little bit by cutting into this one block of marble paper to sort of give the effect of this wall, and then obviously like repeating it twice to make it identical. So the 36 smalls were the first thing I did when I was making the works for the show, after I went and done the research trip to Wedi'i, and I took about, I don't know, a few thousand photographs from the car through the mountains and back. And so yeah, the actual 36 are in order from like of the journey, so it sort of kind of maps the journey itself, like to and from the marble church.